Upon entering the room, I perform hand hygiene. Good morning, Mr. Burton. My name is Jeff. I'll be your physician today.
Pleasure to meet you.
Is it all right if I have a seat?
Absolutely.
Is the room comfortable for you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So today is your first visit, so we're going to go over some why you're here, a little bit about your past history, what brought you in, cover some allergies and everything. Is it okay with you if I take notes?
Absolutely.
Okay. So could you tell me today what brought you in?
I've just been feeling very exhausted and stressed out lately. Stress is something I'm absolutely used to, but it's just becoming a little overbearing, and I'm just wore out and have no energy anymore.
Okay. So you've been exhausted, extremely stressed, overwhelmed, and everything seemed to be overbearing. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So can you tell me when it started?
It started about a year ago, last fall.
Last fall? Okay. And what would you say happened last fall to proceed or to start things off?
Well, I just started a new job. I'm an ICU nurse at Redmond. I work in a cardiothoracic intensive care unit, and learning a new job, getting in my role. My first role as a nurse, and it being in the ICU. And then I started school. I graduated my BSN last spring and jumped straight into my working on my DNP, and that started last fall as well. And then I've just had to assume a lot of family roles because my dad passed a few years ago, and I've just moved back home, and I've had to take care of 10 acres and a lot of other stuff, and I work at nights. So it's difficult to do yard work when you're used to sleeping all day. So it's just a lot of family role stuff and school and work stress.
I'm sorry to hear that about your father. And I can understand that having all these responsibilities and roles can definitely add extra stress to everything. So what do you do to kind of alleviate or help the stress?
I exercise, I go to church, I try to be social. As much time as school and work takes from you, it's hard to go out and do things, but I do exercise. Sometimes it's a stressor, sometimes it's stress relief. I'm trying to take care of myself. I don't want my kids to have to grow up with a sick parent or an unhealthy parent. I want to be a good role model for them, so the mornings that I don't want to work out, I think about that, and that stresses me out. But then sometimes it's not stressful, and I go rock climbing, trail running, those usually aren't too stressful.
You seem to find ways to deal with the stress and reduce it. What would you say increases the stress or makes it worse?
Just when things start to cluster together, like a lot of assignments or extra education at work, having to pick up extra shifts, a hard day at work, things like that.
Yeah, that can definitely add to it. I can understand that. How would you say it affects your daily life?
Like I said, it's hard to perform stuff at home because I'm so exhausted and tired. It really takes me a long time to get motivated. It takes me several hours of getting awake and staring at a computer screen. So it's definitely slowing me down and making it just harder to do things.
Okay. So on a scale of, I guess 0 to 10, 0 being very relaxed, no real stress or pressure, on up to a 10 where you're very extremely stressed, feel like you can't do anything. What would you rate it average?
On average, it's about a 7.
7. Okay. And on that same scale, what would you say the highest has been?
An 8.
An 8. Okay. So you're pretty close to the highest right now. You're on average. And what would be a good goal to try to find you?
6 or 7, because I'm pretty used to stress. I don't mind it. I think that's some environments that I actually thrive in, is being stressed out.
Okay.
It can be motivational at times, but 8's just getting a little too much.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So 6 or 7, I think we can find ways to get you to remain there. Okay. I'd like to move from there, going into some allergies. Do you have any food allergies?
No.
None that you know of. Any environmental allergies, dust, pollen?
None.
Nothing. Okay. What about medication allergies? Nothing.
Which I've never really taken a lot of medications. So.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out, but it's good. Okay, let's move on into current medications that you may take. Do you take anything regular? Nothing?
No.
Ever been prescribed anything regular?
Not on a regular basis. I get this rash every once in a while that my other doctor thought might be tinea. but it goes away after the first few pills, and I make sure to complete my regimen. It's usually 14 days. I can't remember how much it is, but it's a 14-day regimen. I always complete it, and we don't know where it comes from or why.
Okay.
There's nothing that's any common denominators. So
Okay. And it started when you were in college, you said?
it's my first year of college was the first time. My last year of college was my bachelor's degree was the second time, and then after I'd been home about a year is the third time it happened.
Okay.
And it only spreads across like just my chest, nowhere else.
Just itchy?
No, not itchy or anything.
Just a rash that breaks out, doesn't itch, you take medicine, it goes away.
A whole bunch of little dots. That's all it is.
Okay. Well, you've seen someone for it, and you get prescribed medications when you need it, okay? Yeah, okay. Any other medications you take over the counter? Nothing?
No.
Vitamins, supplements?
Yes, I take multivitamins. I take 2 gummies, men's 1 a day every morning. Or well, my morning when I get up in the afternoon.
Mornings are different, I guess, when you
Work nights, yeah.
So you said it's a multi, do you know the name?
No, it's just a men's 1 day.
Men's 1 day, okay. We're gonna move from there into your medical history. I'd like to know a little bit more about your past medical history. Anything you'd like to discuss about past medical history?
I mean, I've been pretty healthy. I've never been diagnosed with anything like long-term illnesses like diabetes or heart failure or anything like that. Just the what we thought is tinea, and then I've got a lot of joint issues because I was a college athlete. I was running 16 miles a day. I had a strained quadriceps, IT band injury, and then I had acne when I was a lot younger. I took Accutane for 3 to 6 months. That's really been it. The only time I go to the doctor is usually for physicals or get my immunizations up to date.
Okay, so the Accutane, you've only taken it for the 3 months.
Yeah.
Any issues with it?
I had common side effects like nosebleeds and stuff, but nothing crazy.
And you said you were a D1 athlete, a lot of joint pains. Were you ever prescribed any medications for that?
Yes, it was pretty much a high strength ibuprofen, but it wasn't as hard on the stomach. I told the doctor that like I have bad stomach reactions to even low dose ibuprofen. So
as an NSAID, you said you don't take it anymore?
No, I only took like 2 or 3 doses. I don't believe in taking medication unless it's medically necessary for life, like insulin with diabetes.
Okay. Any other medical history with the joint issues? No?
Scoliosis. I have scoliosis.
Okay.
I was diagnosed when I was 12 or 13. My foot back started hurting with football practice, and they took me in.
How does that affect you?
Not as much anymore. It did for when I was younger, but I can't almost say I got it corrected. I mean, I still have it, but it's a very manageable point that I have to go to the chiropractor maybe once a year.
So I guess mildly affects your daily life.
I just don't have any pain.
Okay, good. Any surgical history?
None.
Ever been hospitalized for anything?
No.
What about psychiatric history?
I got depressed one time when I was young and thought I was going to have to go on some medication. I told my parents about it. It was never suicidal with that. I was just in a kind of a lull of nothing going on. Like I wasn't out doing activities. It was the middle of the winter between school. Track season wasn't quite around, and I was getting nervous about college coming up, paying for college, my dad being sick, things like that. So I told my parents that, but a few weeks later track season started and never ended up having to do anything about it.
Got back outside and was active again.
Yeah.
Cleared up. Yeah, sometimes that can happen with being the winter months, low vitamin D.
Yeah.
Not being outside as much. Okay. So let's move in to a different section here. Talk about your health screenings and your health maintenance. Do you see a physician regularly? You said you get annual checkups?
Yeah, because of school.
Okay, so once a year?
Yeah.
Physical? Yeah. What about immunizations? Are you up to date on those?
Yeah, because of school. And I just got my flu shot today.
Just got it today. All right. Well, sounds good. All right. Let's find out about some family history. Let's start with any siblings.
I have a half brother on my dad's side.
History-wise.
He has PTSD and anxiety. I don't really know much else. We don't talk a lot.
Okay. What about your parents?
My mother, she doesn't take care of herself, has stage 1 hypertension, pre-diabetic, high cholesterol. She's very sedentary, she works, but she's just tired all the time. She's been diagnosed with depression before. after my dad passes.
Okay.
Depression diagnosed.
And what about your dad?
He
Issue-wise?
passed away 4 years ago tomorrow.
Okay.
He passed away from cardiac issues. Um, he was a decently healthy man. Like, he got out and did a lot of active stuff. He was in the military, but he was exposed to Agent Orange, and think that it caused a lot of thyroid, cardiac, and some lung issues. He did smoke when he was younger. He had some heart attacks early age. I can't remember when. I think it was in his late 30s. And he survived those, but then just all the residual stuff started hitting him in his older age.
Sorry to hear about your father 4 years ago. This gotta be a tough time for you. Let's see what else we got. Let's go into maybe some social history. Married, single,
Single. Never been married.
any kids?
None.
Okay, and you said you're a nurse. You're working on your doctorate for
Not some nurse practitioner.
nurse practitioner. Okay. Tell me about your alcohol use.
I drink 2 drinks twice a week on the weekends. Maybe I'll have like a pack of beer every other 2 months, like in one sitting
Okay.
when I'm out really having a good time with my friends. And we usually stay at the house. We don't drink and drive. We don't go out to bars or anything.
So on a say in a week, how many would you say you have in a week?
We'll say max of 6 on a normal week.
Okay. Any other illicit drug use?
No drug use.
Okay. What about tobacco?
I smoke a cigar maybe 2 or 3 times a year, just on celebratory occasions.
Military experience?
No.
Traveled out of the country in the last 6 months?
No.
I know you said you exercise pretty regularly. How much exercise would you say you get in a week?
2 to 3 times a week, about an hour and a half at a time, and it's pretty intense workouts. It's CrossFit.
Okay, so you get an adequate amount of exercise.
Yes.
And you're familiar with diet recommendations, carbs, protein, and everything?
Yes.
Feel like you get the adequate amount?
I did in my undergrad. I was eating extremely well, but now that I've moved back home with my mom and I have an hour drive back and forth from work, I usually eat pretty healthy at work. But when I'm at home, I don't have a lot of time to cook. She normally brings in fast food, and I feel bad. I'm like, I'm going to eat it. I don't like it. It makes me feel terrible, but it's just what's available right now.
I understand. And it's hard sometimes when you're that busy. Okay, so just as a review, you come in, said you're tired, I guess stressed, overwhelmed sometimes. It increased last year when you started your program, started as a new nurse, and I guess you do a lot of exercise, so that kind of helps, and you have ways to function and to get through with it. So I guess what we will do here, you don't believe in medication, so we won't start any of those today. We'll have you back here in 1 to 2 months, unless you have any suicidal thoughts or anything like that. And then we'll see you in 6 months after that, and then we'll just see you every year, unless we need to do anything else. Does that sound fair to you?
Mhm.
All right, Mr. Daniel. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.